Welcome to the Lippis Report.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Lippis Report podcast. I'm Nick Lippis, your host for today's discussion with Shashi Kiran, who's the Director of Market Management for Data Center/Virtualization and Enterprise Switching at Cisco Systems. In this podcast, we're talking about Cisco's latest portfolio enhancements in data center fabric scale and security. Well, let me give you a brief intro to the topic before I bring Shashi into the general discussion. Well, in this October, Cisco delivered a monster data center fabric announcement aimed at increasing scale, security, and new data center services. For example, Cisco introduced the second generation Nexus 7000 capabilities with the F2 series line card, which is a low-power 48-port 1 and 10 gigabit Ethernet module that supports FabricPath and also FEX, plus the Fabric 2 module that scales to 550 gigabits per second per slot. This is all in addition to a new Nexus 7009 platform, so a new platform into the family. Plus, FabricPath capabilities are added on to the Nexus 5500. There's new fabric extenders and expanded Nexus 1 gigabit and 40 gigabit Ethernet form factors in the Nexus 3000. Well, in this Lippis Report podcast, I talk with Shashi Kiran, who's the Director of Market Management for Data Center/Virtualization and Enterprise Switching at Cisco Systems, about this announcement and what it means to IT business leaders from a business outcome and data center fabric design perspective. Well, with that said, say hello, Shashi, and welcome to the Lippis Report podcast.
Thank you, Nick, and hello. It's good to be here talking about Cisco's fabric strategy in the data center.
Excellent, Shashi. I'm so glad that you're here as well, and I'm so excited about this announcement. There's a lot in here, but I think I want to focus on a couple of really key attributes. One is scale. So let's first talk about scale. There were multiple announcements that were addressing both physical and virtual fabric scale. So what's driving the need, and what is Cisco offering to satisfy it?
That's a good question, Nick. So if you look at the data center environments today, a lot of the things that we are putting out really are driven more by business needs than by technology needs. How do you drive more efficiency in the data center? How do you drive more agility? And really, how do you continue to simplify a lot of the infrastructure elements in place? And today, a data center has become more of a strategic investment, not a cost center anymore. And applications really drive the underlying infrastructure. So if the infrastructure underneath is really not flexible enough, and it needs to be repurposed every time you're running a new application workload, then it becomes very counterproductive. We're seeing a lot of our customers in different segments. It could be a general purpose data center where they have the traditional requirements that we have been familiar with in the enterprise environments. They have their own set of requirements. You're seeing service provider or cloud-based applications where you require massive degrees of scale. You have niche workloads like high-frequency trading, high-performance computing, where perhaps latency is very important, east-to-west bandwidth is important. And you have some of the Web 2.0 search engines, social media providers, and they have the requirement of large layer 2, layer 3 scale. So scale is becoming an important factor in how infrastructure is being delivered today. It really needs to accommodate both scale up as well as scale out, as we call them. And while virtualization was brought in as a means to drive better efficiency in the data center environment, it has also caused some element of disruption. Today you have virtual machines moving all across the data center and perhaps beyond, and you need to be able to have the infrastructure scale to accommodate these different virtual machines and applications that are across a geographic span. So that's the customer expectation today, that we deliver them an underlying infrastructure that is architecturally flexible enough to deal with these dynamic and diverse requirements.
Yeah, well, that's great, and that's a lot. That resonates a lot with what we're seeing in the marketplace as well. But let's and scale is systemic, So let's do a deep dive on fabric scale.
Sure.
So what is it that Cisco is now offering that helps you differentiate, particularly from others in the industry, in data center fabric?
Okay, so you mentioned two words there. One was fabric, and the other one was scale. Let me talk a little bit about the fabric aspect first. Today, if you look at majority of the vendors in the industry, they don't have the concept of a fabric at all, right? Most of them focus on box feeds and speeds and how quickly can they run a box without being in a position to construct a fabric that can span the data center in a holistic way. And there are some vendors that we have seen come out in the last year or so who are promising system scale. This is going beyond the box, bringing it together as a system. But then what we're seeing is they don't have a proven track record. They don't have customer traction yet to speak of, while they are talking about the concepts of fabric. And where Cisco really differentiates itself is not just in the ability to deliver box scale, not just in the ability to bring these things together as a system, but also being able to span across data centers in a very seamless way. And our definition of the fabric is also much broader. I think as we have discussed in your podcast before, Nick, our value proposition is not just in announcing these new innovations, but really in how we bring them together. So how do we bring the network, compute, storage, application, services elements together and deliver a very feature-rich fabric that can accommodate the needs of workload mobility today, for instance, with Lisp or OTV. These are some of the innovations Cisco has delivered and which we're driving into standards bodies, or accommodating layer 2 or layer 3 scale with things like FabricPath, our FEX or fabric extender portfolio, bringing in convergence layered into the fabric, or even making sure that things like compute with our fabric computing portfolio with UCS, how can we bring in a synergetic way into our network elements. This is what is our definition of the fabric. And if you look at it, it's really going beyond just the box. So we're encouraging customers to think beyond the box, and they're asking us, break these silos for us, both the IT silos and organizational silos. And we think the fabric and our ability to scale at the box level, at the system level, and between data centers is really what differentiates us and helps us to deliver multi-dimensional scale.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, you're right, because there's a lot there. Like I have a ton of questions right now, but we'll hold those for another time. What I want to do is kind of shift our discussion a little bit more towards kind of the business impact. So what kind of business outcomes do you anticipate as customers increase their investment in Cisco's data center fabric solution? So, what are they going to get from this from a business perspective?
Yes. So today, the data center investment is in many instances managed by the CIO. They have a really direct line of oversight into how the investment actually happens. And as I said, they're viewing this more as a strategic asset. And the more benefits they can derive from optimizing the data center infrastructure, they can repurpose the cost savings across the rest of the organization. What we have seen is 1% of cost savings that they can bring in, or 1% of productivity they can bring in into the data center has a ripple effect across the rest of the enterprise. So from a business perspective, we think, the coming together of all of these different solutions across network, compute, storage, application services really helps them to drive better business agility, helps them become more competitive and differentiate themselves in a market that's moving pretty quickly itself, and drive greater levels of efficiency in the organization. But more important, a lot of the innovations that we're putting out are really evolutionary in nature. You don't need to rip and replace. So for our customers, it gives them a lot of investment protection and the ability to try and then go and deal with these new applications as they become comfortable with it, without having to retrain an entire horde of organizational capabilities. And Cisco Services does a very important job of hand-holding customers during this life cycles. In fact, as part of the October announcement, we also introduced 2 new services focused on automation as well as optimization. And to the point that I made before, these help derive greater cost savings, which customers can repurpose into more strategic investments.
Great. Excellent. Well, we've been talking about Cisco's latest product investment in data center fabric scale and security with Shashi Kiran, who's the Director of Market Management for Data Center Virtualization and Enterprise Switching at Cisco Systems. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
That concludes this edition of the Lippis Report. Thank you for joining us.